Max out your 401k. It's free money. Get the employer match. You've heard this advice 1,000 times. Your HR department practically begs you to sign up. Financial advisors treat it like gospel. But what if I told you that your 401k might be the biggest financial trap you ever walked into? I'm not saying 401ks are useless, but there's a dark side nobody talks about. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the government loves when you contribute to your 401k and why that should terrify you. Picture this. You're 35 years old. You've been diligently putting money into your 401k for 10 years. You've saved $100,000. You're proud. You're responsible. Then suddenly, emergency. You need $30,000 right now. Medical bills, family crisis, whatever. You call your 401k provider, and here's what they tell you. Sure, you can withdraw $30,000, but we're taking a 10% penalty. That's $3,000 gone instantly. Then you'll owe income tax on the remaining $27,000 at your current tax rate. If you're in the 24% bracket, that's another $6,480 in taxes. So your $30,000 withdrawal, you'll actually receive about $20,520. You just paid nearly $10,000 in penalties and taxes to access your own money. That's a 33% hit, and this is considered normal. Here's what they don't tell you when they're pushing 401ks. You're making a bet, a massive bet. You're betting that tax rates will be lower in 30 plus years when you retire. The government won't change the rules. They already have multiple times. You won't need your money before age 59 and a half. You'll actually want to retire at the government's specified age. You'll be okay with being forced to withdraw money via required minimum distributions, or RMDs, starting at age 73. That's a lot of bets, and you're betting with your entire retirement. Let's talk about that last one, RMDs, because this is where it gets really ugly. Starting at age 73, the IRS forces you to withdraw a certain percentage of your 401k every year, whether you want to or not. And guess what? You pay taxable income on every dollar. If you miss your RMD, the penalty is 25% of what you should have withdrawn. And if you don't correct it quickly, that penalty sticks. The government is literally forcing you to take taxable distributions, even if you don't need the money.
Now let's line a 401k up next to the other places you can put your money, because this is where the just max it out narrative starts to fall apart. With a traditional 401k, the pitch is simple. You get a tax deduction today. The money grows without taxes along the way. But the bill doesn't disappear, it just gets delayed. When you finally withdraw, those dollars are taxed as ordinary income. And if life happens and you need the money before age 59 and a half, you're typically looking at a 10% early withdrawal penalty on top of whatever income tax you owe. Then, once you hit age 73, the IRS doesn't just suggest withdrawals, it requires them. Required minimum distributions kick in whether you need the money or not. So yes, you get a break now, but you pay for it later, with rules attached and with very little flexibility. Now compare that to a Roth IRA. Here, you don't get a deduction up front, you contribute after-tax money. But in exchange, your money can grow tax-free, and if you follow the rules, your withdrawals in retirement are 100% tax-free. Even better, Roth IRAs give you a pressure release valve. You can always pull out your original contributions without taxes or penalties because you already paid taxes on that money. And unlike traditional 401ks, there are no required minimum distributions for you during your lifetime, meaning your money can keep compounding as long as you want. And then there's the taxable brokerage account, the most boring sounding option, but the one with the most freedom. You contribute after-tax dollars, just like with a Roth. You'll pay taxes along the way, usually on dividends each year and on capital gains when you sell. But here's the trade-off. You get to decide when to sell, how much to sell, and why. And that's the real point. Financial freedom isn't just about returns, it's about options. A traditional 401k gives you a tax break today, but it also locks your money behind rules for decades. So the question isn't, is the deduction nice? The question is, what is that deduction actually worth if you can't touch your money for the next 30 years? Let me walk you through 3 scenarios to show you how this plays out in real life. Scenario 1, the early retiree. Meet Sarah. She's 45 and wants to retire early. She's been maxing out her 401k for 20 years. She has $800,000 saved. Life is good, right? Wrong. She can't touch that money without massive penalties until age 59 and a half. That's 14.5 more years of waiting. She could use the rule of 72.T for substantially equal periodic payments, but that locks her into withdrawals for 5 years minimum. Not exactly financial freedom. If Sarah had put half that money into a taxable brokerage account, she could retire right now and live off her investments with flexibility. Scenario 2, the tax rate gamble. Meet Tom. He's 65, ready to retire. He has $1.2 million in his 401k. He's in the 24% tax bracket. He starts taking distributions of $60,000 each year. Plot twist. 10 years later, Congress passes major tax reform. The tax brackets shift. Tom's now paying 32% on his withdrawals because of RMDs combined with Social Security income, pushing him into a higher bracket. Remember, Tom got a tax deduction 30 years ago when he was in the 22% bracket. Now he's paying 32% on withdrawals. He actually lost money on this tax advantage. Scenario 3, the rule changer. Meet Lisa. She's 55 in 2026. She's been counting on retiring at 62 and starting to tap her 401k at 59 and a half. But what if, and hear me out, the government changes the rules? They've already moved the RMD age from 70 and a half to 73, and it's going to 75 for people born after 1960. What if they raise the penalty-free withdrawal age? What if they change how RMDs work? What if they limit the total you can accumulate? These aren't conspiracy theories. Congress has changed 401k rules multiple times. Secure Act 1.0, Secure Act 2.0, the rules are always changing, and you're locked in.
Now here's the part that'll make you think. Why does the government love 401ks so much? Simple. Control and guaranteed future tax revenue. Think about it from the government's perspective. They give you a tax deduction today when you're probably in a lower tax bracket and earning less. Then 30, 40 years later, when you've accumulated hundreds of thousands or millions, they tax you on the withdrawals, possibly at higher rates. Plus, they control when and how you access your money. RMDs ensure they get their tax revenue on a predictable schedule. They've essentially locked you into becoming a future taxpayer with no escape route. It's genius, really, and it's not a conspiracy, it's just how the system is designed. The 401k wasn't created to make you wealthy, it was created to shift the burden of retirement from employers who used to provide pensions to employees, while giving the government a predictable future tax stream. And to be clear, I'm not saying you should never use a 401k. That's not the point. The point is to stop treating it like a one-size-fits-all financial adulthood badge and start using it strategically. A 401k does make sense in a few specific situations. If your employer offers a match, that's genuinely free money, and it's hard to argue against taking it. It can also make sense if you're in a high tax bracket right now and you realistically expect to be in a lower bracket when you retire, because in that case, the tax deduction today might actually beat the taxes you'll pay later. And honestly, if you know you're the type of person who will spend whatever is sitting in your checking account, the forced lockup of a 401k can work like training wheels. It keeps you from sabotaging your future self. But the biggest thing most people miss is this. A 401k works best when it's part of a plan, not the entire plan, especially after you've already used other tax-advantaged options. So here's the better strategy for most people. First, contribute enough to your 401k to capture the full employer match, usually something like 3 to 6% of your salary. After that, shift your focus to maxing out a Roth IRA, because that's where you can build a pool of money that grows tax-free and can be withdrawn tax-free later, $7,000 in 2026 or $8,000 if you're 50 or older. Then start building up a taxable brokerage account because flexibility matters, and that account is where you keep the "I can access this whenever I want" money. And only after those pieces are in place, then you consider putting more into the 401k. Because what you're really building isn't just a retirement account. You're building 3 different buckets of money: tax-free money in your Roth IRA, tax-deferred money in your 401k, especially the matched portion, and fully flexible money in a taxable brokerage account. And once you see it that way, you realize diversification isn't only about what you invest in. It's also about how your money gets taxed and how much control you have when life happens. Look, the 401k isn't evil, but it's not the magic bullet everyone pretends it is. It's a tool, and like any tool, you need to understand its limitations. The truth is, the government's favorite taxpayer is the one who locks all their money in a 401k for 30 years and then has no choice but to take taxable distributions in retirement. Don't be that person. Build flexibility, build options, build wealth that you control, not wealth that's trapped in a government-controlled retirement account. If you enjoyed watching this video, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss my future uploads. Thanks for watching.